welcome back to another episode. So this one's going to all be about the front suspension, getting the forks sorted. So what I've already done is I've taken off the various bearings and races and all the rest of it from the top end that will be there. The chrome ring was bent anyway, so I've had to knock that out and got a new one. So they're all the bits that go at the top there in the right order, all on a zip tie. And then the same goes for the bottom end of the steering column. So those are the various bits that will be going there, all in the right order on a zip tie, so that when I buy the new ones I know exactly how they're all going to go back. Always thinking. So what we're going to do first down here is we're going to take all of the suspension bits out, and I've got a rebuild kit to put it all back in. Rather pleasingly, and I might be tempting fate here, the various bolts that are holding all this together all look relatively new. Now I've got new ones anyway, but what I'm hoping that means is it's not all seized. So essentially we've got to take the buffers out, the springs and the rods out. I can then clean up the actual swing arms, and this paintwork will all be sanded down. I'm going to repaint kind of that section there is going to be repainted. I'm going to clear up and tidy all this lot. I might put a coating of some primer on it to stop any rust in the future, but that's the next job. So let's crack on. Yeah baby, plan comes together, bosh. So having got the sort of top of the cap out of this side, and I've been ratcheting around in there and I can't seem to get anything out, and I think there isn't one in there. So what I've got here, for a little while back I bought a really cheap little kind of probe camera, which you can see on the little screen there. So this is the side that I know I've definitely taken one out, and I don't know whether this is going to show up on camera, but I can definitely see the lip that it butts up against there. And then if I go into the side when I can't get a thing out, to me that looks exactly the same. There's the lip that the cap butts up against. So I think there, we can perhaps see it better there. There's not a cap in there, but there is the lip. And then the side that I know is correct, same again. I can see the lip, there's no cap in there, obviously that's the one I've taken out. So I think they're both good to go. So I've given the forks a very quick once over. It's taken about 45 minutes, fiddly, but I want to make it better than that because these are going to be quite visible. So I'm going to deal with them kind of one section at a time. So I'm just going to deal with one of the boots at the end, then I'll deal with that section of the tubing, do this top bit round here, then I'll deal with that, and then I'll deal with that, and just try and get each one as smooth as I can. Don't think I need any filler, but I have gone through to bare metal on a few spots, so I'll need to put some etch primer over just to make sure those are sealed. So hopefully not too far off being in a position to spray them. Right, a few days later, we've got a front hub which is basically now ready to start the painting process. We had a load of paint stripper on first, wire brushed a lot of that off, then we did some more paint stripper, then we did some sanding, and got it down reasonable. And then I had a bit of a brainwave, so I decided off Amazon I bought a really cheap sandblasting gun. I think it was like 20 quid, 21 quid, something like that. And then I went to see a local supplier and had a chat with them about some media blasting material, and they recommended something to me that was not going to damage the surface of the casting. So I then spent a couple of hours. It wasn't an easy process, and the guns, you know, it only works at about 90 to 100 psi, and it sometimes clogged up, so it took quite a while, but the compressor just about kept up and it's finished it really, really well. I'm really chuffed. So I've already started masking things up, ready to do some spraying. Right, hope all this comes out on camera well, but this has all come out really nicely. Heating up the greenhouse and then getting the paint in, I was able to do it even though the temperatures were a bit colder. There's a few flakes of dust which I can buff out. There's a couple around there, I don't know whether they'll show up. There's a couple on there, but basically I think it's come out really, really well. Forks around here. Right, welcome back. We're a week on from doing the spraying of all these parts. My spraying technique has got better, but my cutting and buffing technique has got way better. I'm so pleased with this. I hope this all comes out on camera, but I've got a really nice finish on these parts. I'm just gonna have to replicate that across the rest of the scooter, but I'm really chuffed. It's like, yeah, that's gonna look great. So I've had a little bit of a sort out in the workshop. Scooter's got pride of place, or I should say the frame has got pride of place now. So what we're going to do now is try and get it up on its own 2 feet. Is that right? That's not the right phrase, is it? Surely. So what we're going to try and do now is we're going to get the stand fitted, and then we're going to rebuild the front suspension, front hub, put it all together, front rims, bosh, and have it on its stand, front wheel in place, and just supported with a cardboard box or something at the back there. So that's the plan. You know, you do a good job with the masking on all this. It's taken me an hour to get all the masking off these. Having freezing cold fingers doesn't help, but I'm a little bit excited because we're actually putting nice, reconditioned, repainted, refurbished, restored parts back together for the first time now. So first job, we want to try and get the stand in place. Okay, so I'm just getting the stand feet on. Had them in some boiling water for a little while, so they're slightly more supple, but they're still pretty hard. Key point, the kicky bit needs to be on the outside, and then I've got to get that hole to line up with that hole, and then drive the pin in. Quite a nice job because you can use a hammer. So that's now flush. So we have our feet on. Right, this potentially looks trickier on paper. According to the manual, that needs to go there, well greased up. The centre stand is going to kind of fit there. So I'm going to slide that in there. I'm going to loosely fit this side. And just so you know, I'm fitting these reinforcement plates behind here to basically strengthen the strut. The tricky bit, I think, is what I need is to get the spring on. I've got this spring greased up as well. I normally use the blue Maxima waterproof grease, but I think because you're going to see this, it's not going to look as good, so I've got some clear grease on there. I don't know whether, because I haven't fitted the bolt on this side yet, so I've got a little bit of play, so I'm hoping this might allow me to get this in position like that, and then try and force the bolt in. Gonna be close. Yes. Right, so both the bolts are in very, very loosely. Hopefully now I can just tighten them up a bit at a time. It's going to pull into place. Spring is fitted. Job's a good one. Right, before I get on with the suspension part of this down the forks, I just want to fit the bearing race on here. So we have a dust cover on first, and then we have this bearing race goes on and gets tapped down. And never throw anything away, I've read that the cone from the frame, the old one, put that over there and I can use that to tap this into place. So that's what we're going to try. Might be a bit of a wait. I think that's it. That must be tight because there's no play at all in the dust cover. Sorted. For our front suspension, we're going to turn all of this kit here, plus that and that, and we're getting all of those into there in the right order. Nothing will go wrong. So first job, we need to put these upper buffers inside the fork legs, up there and up there. Easy job. One thing to just watch out for is, if you look, one of the bolts has to go through 2 layers of metal, and one of the bolts only goes through 1 layer of metal, and the bolts are actually different lengths. So these ones are longer to go through the 2 pieces of metal, and these ones are shorter to go through the 1 piece of metal. I'm saying be careful because I just put the first one in wrong, so I have to take it out and start again. Sorted, got our upper buffers in place, so the next job we need to get the rod inside the spring and the cap on the top. So that is going to go up inside until that cap rests up against the stop that's inside the forks. But this needs to be lathered in grease. So that's the next fun job. Okay, so we've got both of the springs, rods, caps in place, and I guess the important point is that they're both at the same length, so that's good. Next job, I'm just putting the plastic bushes inside the links. So got it lined up on this one into the vise. I'm hoping, like the previous one, was easy enough. And I've just done exactly the same process and pushed in the inner metal bush. So we're now good to go. Okay, so now we've got to get the fork links inside there, which means, oops, sorry, that way up, which means that spring needs to be compressed before that can go in using this tool. And I remember it was a pain in the bum getting them out. I found it quite difficult. So we'll see how this one works out. What I can do is put some grease inside these to hold them in place while they slot it in and get a bolt through. That is the plan. Blimey, 1 hour later. In principle that was all fine. You just put the tool in, push the lever the springs down, slide the fork links in over the top so they roughly line up, take the tool off and put the bolt through. But oh my god, initially getting it in wasn't so bad, but then getting the fork links to push all the way down inside here until they're lined up with that was a nightmare. I don't know why they were so stiff. Anyway, I think I've now got the 2 bolts basically in, so I can now just get the nuts and washers on the inside here. I don't need to put on, I've got a came with a kit, I've got a kind of cable holder, but I don't need to do that because these forks have actually got one built in it. I need to do a bit of cleaning up first and get the bits of grease and muck and everything I have off my lovely paintwork, and then get those nuts and bolts, get that hardware on, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Whew, hey. Whew. At blooming last, we've got the link bolts are all in place, the links are in place, all that's done. Last thing I've got to do is put the lower buffers in, which shouldn't be too bad a job, but let's just have a little bit of a look out here. Don't know whether that's coming out there, but you can see Grisdale Pike, gorgeous sunset. I think I'm going to try and get these buffers in, and I might go out for a little bit of a run, get a head torch on. Gorgeous. Right, let's get this last little bit done. Buffers in. Phew, right, that took some doing, but we have a front suspension, so these forks now are basically ready to be greased up, have the bearings put in and put into the steering column, and tomorrow we need to rebuild front hub with the brakes and put a wheel together. Right. Hoping to get all that done today, but never mind, it was trials and tribulations, so that'll be tomorrow. So next day, while I was out of my lovely sunset run last night, I was thinking about these forks, and what I should have done, and probably a bit of advice for somebody else doing this, is if you're buying new bushes and so on, then the tolerance are going to be fractionally different. And I guess what I should have done is, before I put all the buffers and the springs and rods and everything in, I should have test fitted the fork links and just see how easy they went in, and then if I needed to kind of sand a bit inside or try and prise those open, like it's just like a millimetre or so, it would have made that much easier. So lesson learned. The bottom line is I haven't scratched the paint, I've got the fork links in, got the buffers in, got the springs in, I've checked they line up across there, so I think that's that done. The only thing I haven't done is put the grease nipples on the bottom of there, so I've got to find those, put those in, and then my first proper job this morning is to fit those forks into there. Right, let's get on with that. Okay, fitting the forks, we have big bearing on the bottom down to there, very well greased up area. Slide the fork up into the steering column. When it comes out the top, another bearing goes on there, then that upper bearing race on top of that, bit of a washer, then the locking nut, loads of grease there, loads of grease on that at the top. Job's a good one. Oh, that's a nice little position with my knee. At the moment that feels like it's falling, but there's no wheel or hub in it, so when the wheel and hub is in it, that could be around about right. But it's before I put all the headset and everything on, I can adjust this. We'll wait and see once the wheel and hub is on. But basically we have a front fork. Didn't take too long. Right, so we're now going to sort out the back plate. Looking very nice paint job. So essentially we've got large oil seal to go in there with the flat side facing me. We've got a new speedo drive and a kind of locking mechanism for that. Screw those in, loads of grease. Then we'll mount the brake shoes with the cam, and I've got a new circlip, and I've also got a new spring, because as I took the old one out I bent the spring a little bit, and as it only cost pennies, let's get a new one of those. And then finally the brake lever arm and adjuster goes on the outside, lock it all in with that circlip. So let's crack on and see how long this takes. Just finally getting the fiddly circlip on. Seem to have a working brake, but I can, at a later date, I can adjust. Take the circlip off, I can move that arm if I need to. There we go, so that's back plate built up. Quick bite for lunch, and then I think we're going to be on to the hub itself with the spindle. Right, these are all my bits for the front hub. There it is, looking good. So let's see if we can whack all this lot together. First job is get this speedo drive on. Right, we've got a front hub built, brakes are in there, brakes are working. We've quickly threaded through the speedo cable so we can put those two bits together. I'm going to chuck a front wheel together, put the front wheel on, install that, work done for the day. Right, I didn't need to film myself doing up loads of bolts, but there we have a pretty damn sexy looking front end. Right, really chuffed with that. I have a feeling that the steering might be a tiny fraction too strong, so or too tight I should say, so that may get loosened off a tiny fraction. Really, that looks so good, really pleased with that. I don't know if I can put a bit more light on the matter there. And yes, I did spend more money and get the white wall tyres, but I think we'll agree that looks pretty damn good. So that will be the end of this video. Next we'll turn our attention to the back end and the seat loop and various bits and bobs that go in there. Right, hope you enjoyed that one. If you are enjoying these, then maybe you could help me out a little bit and tick the subscribe button and see if we can just boost our numbers a little bit. I know quite a lot of people are watching and not everybody's a subscriber, so that would help me out if you could do that. And in the meantime, I'll have a think about the back end and what I need to get sorted for that.